The Sports Your Enthusiasm podcast is officially brought to you today by the Push Start Media Network. So happy to say that. Feels good to say that. Well, on today's show, Rueter and I discussed the NFL Combine and just kind of talked about some of our favorite prospects, past Combine performances, and obviously, you know, our general overall thoughts on the NFL Combine. And also, we decided to do a little exercise here called the QB Carousel. And basically what we did was take quarterback needy teams and kind of just penciled in what route they're going to take in terms of either free agency, drafting a quarterback, or kind of just sticking with what they have internally. Really dope episode for you guys today. So make sure you go grab yourself some water and enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Your Enthusiasm podcast, brought to you officially by this Push Start Media Network. You know me, I am your humble host, Bryce Benjamin, and would like to formally introduce the newest member of the SYE family. Took a lot of negotiating, but we finally hammered out the details of the contract. Officially one of the new co-hosts of the SYE podcast here, my guy, Ed Rueter. Mr. Rueter, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing really well, Bryce, but I've got to tell you, I'm not so sure that had you asked me last week, you know, on a Sunday, is there an 8 on the clock? I don't know that I would have been able to answer that. I am not sure, but now I know.
Now you know.
Yes, objectively, there is an 8 on the clock on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
8 a.m. I haven't seen the sun rise on a Sunday morning in 25 years. So.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you waking up at 8 a.m. for me, man, and for this show. We greatly appreciate it.
Oh, great to be here, man.
But yeah, man, you heard Ed on this show before. If you've been listening in the past, he's been on several different episodes. And yeah, finally said that, hey, man, we want to have you on permanently. So glad to have you on, man. Welcome aboard. But for the people that may be new to this show, what we like to do here is we like to basically give our fanhood. So, Ed, I want to give us both a moment to talk our fanhood for the new listeners out there. We could talk about our favorite teams, sports, players, sports memories, whatever comes to mind for you here. And then also I'll just throw a little bit out there for myself as well, for the new listeners as well. But go ahead and take the floor, man. Introduce yourself.
Sounds great. Well, Ed Rueter, born and raised in Niagara Falls, New York. My fandom, a little bit all over the road. I'm a hometown guy, I'd like to think. So Buffalo Sabres, my favorite hockey team. Big time Cleveland Indians fan for the MLB. Came across them because locally here we've got the Buffalo Bisons, and for a long time they were the farm club for the Cleveland Indians. So it was always cool as a kid to see those players kind of coming up. And as long as I can remember, as an adult, I've been a fan of the Cleveland Indians. And then, the scourge of the hometown Buffalo Bills. Although I do like the Bills and I follow the Bills, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan.
Wow.
So I probably just, I can hear the cringing already. I can hear through the internet the cringing on the other side. Yeah. But big Miami Dolphins fan. Came about when I was a little kid. You know, Dan Marino.
Dan the man.
I don't think you need much more beyond knowing that Dan Marino was a thing in the 80s. And I was a thing in the 80s, so that's how that lined up.
There you go.
Favorite memories, man? So many, you know, if we're going to talk about that. But for me, recent memories, most of my favorite sports memories revolve around just one young man, Francisco Lindor.
Okay.
We're hoping he sticks around in Cleveland for another year, maybe the rest of his career. That'd be nice. Small market team. We don't know if we can afford this guy, but we're hoping he sticks around. He's created a bunch of memories for me. The reason I say that is because the Indians have had their huge win streak. They had their run to the World Series. That was a lot of fun. He was a centerpiece of both of those. And to put it quite frankly, my other two teams have been absolute trash for as long as I can remember. So So that is pretty much where my fanhood is at today. We're hoping that window hasn't closed on the Cleveland Indians quite yet. Sabres suck. I'm predicting a Dolphins suck. I still love those lovable losers, but that's where I'm at, man. How about you?
You got any NBA teams?
Any NBA teams? Well, hopefully, in this journey with you, you've been teaching me a lot about the NBA.
Yes, sir.
I haven't really followed the NBA as closely. I love playoff basketball. I think it's awesome. But I've never had a team, right? I mean, I think that's where I'm at with basketball. I've never had a team. I've been following your Sixers more closely.
There you go.
Just because in our conversations with you, so I'm starting to, have a little love for them. But other than that, no, I just kind of follow the game from a distance a little bit and hoping to learn a few things from you along the way here, man.
That's good stuff, man. Yeah, myself, same thing, born and raised Niagara Falls, New York. And I really don't have any love for any of the local teams. Like Sabres, I root for the Sabres if I had to say any of the local teams. That's the main one I would say. I'm not really a big hockey guy myself, but one of those things that I will look at their record and hope that they do well. But football, Baltimore Ravens all day. If you know me, you know how passionate I am about my Baltimore Ravens.
Big trust.
Yes, sir. Big trust. Woo woo. Philadelphia 76ers in basketball there. Trust the process, even though it ain't looking too good right now. But we'll see. And baseball, which you have been educating me on. So got a little vice versa there going. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And really what put me onto the Angels was literally a video game. MVP Baseball 2004. I seen Vlad Guerrero as the number one player. Black dude, played for the Angels. I was hooked. Simple as that.
Sometimes that's all it takes,
yeah, man.
Weird stories.
So just like that, man. Yeah, man, let's go ahead and get into the episode, bro. We got a really good one for these guys today. I wanted to touch a little bit, before we get into our main topic, I want to touch a little bit on the NFL Combine. First of all, have you been following the Combine at all a little bit since it's been on this whole weekend?
Well, yes, I have, Bryce. It's been interesting. I'm no expert on the Combine or anything like that, but certainly interesting to watch. I think what the Combine does for me is it starts the football season.
Yes.
Right? You know what I'm saying? It's the harbinger for things to come. It starts that kind of draft season. It gets me in the mood for football again. So watching a little bit from a distance, but enough to keep myself knowledgeable on it. Yeah,
the thing about the Combine for me, you can't put too much stock into it. I've learned that as a young football fan, where I remember seeing a big fast guy, a wide receiver who's like 6'4" and 225 pounds run a 4.40, and just remember, oh yeah, that guy's going to be elite. But then a lot of times they kind of turn out to be shit. So I learned that you can't put too much stock into the Combine, but at the same time, it does give me an opportunity to kind of see some of the prospects that a lot of these analysts be talking about as the higher prospects and seeing how they test out athletically. And at the same time, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of a fan of seeing like these freakishly large human beings just move as fast as they do. Like, it's kind of like, for instance, what's the guy named Mekhi Becton, the offensive lineman out of Louisville?
Yes, sir.
The man is 6'7", 367 pounds, and ran a 5.140. Like, he's moving as fast as 300-pound defensive linemen, like at that size. That's like, how the hell are you that big and that fast? Like, that is mind-boggling to see.
That's a large human being right there.
Right.
For what is essentially a land mammal. That's about you're pushing maximum speed there.
Yeah, it's very impressive to see, man. But there have been a couple of the players that I was watching that I kept my eye on and that have impressed me, not only with just like the 40 time and like the bench presses and whatnot. Those is all cool. But I really like watching some of the field drills as well. For instance, for the receivers, they got the new drills that they was introducing, and one of them was like the end zone catches. And just watching a lot of those top prospects go and be able to make that adjustment midair and do the toe tap along the edge before, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like seeing that. I like that they added that drill. That was pretty cool. Like CeeDee Lamb, he looked really good in that drill. Jefferson, the receiver from LSU, the national championship team LSU. Ruggs, he looked really good. So there's a lot of receiver prospects that I kept my eye on throughout this whole process here.
What I like about it is that it kind of showed and put on display the wide receiver's catch radius, right? Which I think is maybe about as important as anything. When a receiver is coming downfield, you hear a lot about that at the draft, but you've never really heard about it too much at the combine. And I think those drills kind of highlight, the catch radius for the wide receiver.
Right.
And how good they're going to be at hauling in tough passes, which is, the NFL, you're going to see a lot more of that than when you're wide open as one of the best athletes in college football, right? So interesting there. As far as players moving fast, I love that you said that you don't put too much stock into it. I know that we discussed it a little bit more, so what I want you to do here is indulge me, and I want you to fake surprise with this list right after I'm done reading it. All right? Can you do that for me?
Gotcha.
That's where we're at. All right. So I want to just name off this list really quick for you. Okay. It's John Ross, Rondell Menendez, Jerome Mathis, Marquise Goodwin, Jacoby Ford, J.J. Nelson, Yaman Figures, and Darius Hayward Bay. Mm-hmm. You ever heard of those guys before?
I've heard of them guys, yes.
All right, so here's where we're at with this.
Okay.
These are the top players for 40 times ever at the NFL Combine.
Okay.
Now, the reason I highlight these guys is because none of them, maybe we'll give some time to John Ross here, we'll see what he does.
Right.
But none of these guys have really turned into anything, right?
Right.
That's nearly your top 10 list. We throw in Henry Ruggs, who killed it this year with the sub 4.340, but none of those guys have ever translated into anything in the NFL, and that's why I love that you said you don't put too much stock into it, because it's immeasurable, right? You don't know how these guys are going to develop. You don't know how these guys are going to play within a system that they get drafted to. So, again, watching from a distance, man, it's nothing I'm following too closely.
Exactly. And when you listen to professional scouts and you listen to GMs when they talk, and you listen to, like, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to get this football information is Move the Six with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. They always say that you put 90% of your stock on from the game film of the player. The combine is just a way to kind of maybe go back and look at more game tape because you may have missed something, or basically just go look at extra game tape. Like, there have been, you just mentioned it, there's been several occasions where you got combine warriors that just go and just destroy every event, and they get into the NFL and they really can't perform on Sundays. Like, one of the main examples for me, I'm pretty sure you remember this name, the Jets defensive end / linebacker Vernon Golston. The man went out there and put on an absolute physical performance at the combine. He bench pressed 38 times, 225 pounds, had like a 40-inch vertical, ran like a 4.6 40 at 250 pounds, and then got into the NFL and was out of the league in 3 years after being a top 10 pick. So, again, it's just one of those things. Like, if you can't perform on the field, then the combine really doesn't mean shit. And also, like, you can see it hurt a lot of people as well. Like, for Baltimore, we was a beneficiary of that with Orlando Brown Jr. a couple of years ago. He had one of the worst combine performances ever. The dude was one of the top rated linemen, and then he goes into the third round. And now he's a fucking all pro. You know what I'm saying?
Man, it's crazy. And really the thing with it for me is the inconsistency of it, right? I mean, because then you have guys that have performed well at the combine that turned out to be studs in the NFL, right? I mean, you have your Ndamukong Suhs.
Yes.
You have your Jadeveon Clowney. I remember a film of Jadeveon Clowney, like, you've seen the offensive lineman pushing those sleds.
Yes.
I remember this man by himself flipping one of those things over at the pre-combine film, and he turned out to be an absolute stud. So it's just hard for me as someone who's not there watching these guys, that doesn't have all day to analyze these things. It's hard enough for scouts to do that, let alone for me, from a distance, from my couch, trying to do the same thing.
I feel you.
So for me, it is interesting to watch. Was there anybody for you that impress you, that leapt out, that maybe you could say, yeah, this guy passes the eye test, he's somebody that I think could be something in the NFL?
Yeah, so I've been paying close attention to the wide receivers and the linebackers and the offensive linemen so far, because these are positions of need that I'm hoping that Baltimore kind of dabbles into, because I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. So yesterday I was watching the linebackers work out and run their 40 times and whatnot. And there's a couple of them. Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker / safety hybrid from Clemson, that dude is a freak athlete. 6'4", almost 240 pounds. The man ran 4 sub 440. 4.40. Like, the shit was crazy watching him move that fast. And I'm not sure if he competed in any of the field drills or after that, but honestly, he probably don't have to. He's already a top 10 prospect at that point, and he just solidified that with running such a fast 40 time for himself. I'm kind of upset that Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen got hurt after running their 40 times. Like, looks like they pulled their hamstrings and they sat out the rest of the event there. So I was kind of disappointed there, but they really impressed me with their speed, like seeing it by the numbers. And then also the receivers, all the receivers impressed me. All the top receivers, the CeeDee Lambs, the Jerry Judys, the Justin